this module, what we're going to do is cover the product records, show you all the information that's available in the product record and how to edit it. Every product that you sell is going to have a product record entry in the database in Fuse5. These records are going to contain all of the specific information regarding that product. The following section will outline all the product information and its purpose. Now, more than likely, you're going to be importing in bulk fashion most of your product database using our import functionality. This functionality will be shown in a later video since it's used throughout Fuse5. You can create a product in Fuse5 by going to Product Management, right here, Products, Create a Product. If I click on Create a Product, I'll get a fresh screen that will allow me to go in and actually manually create a product in Fuse5. We'll go into the product records and talk about what all these fields mean. Another way that you can create a product in Fuse5 is by going to your Products Listings page, which is under Product Management, Products. Now I'm on my Products Listings page, and if I want to create a new product from here, I can use the orange plus button right there, which allows me to create a product. If you remember from other videos, anytime you're on a listings page, which is the page with the search functionality, the orange plus button is always used to create something new, and in this case, since we're in the products page, we can create a new product. Same screen as if you would use the product management products create a product interface. Let's go ahead and go back to our products listings page and take a look at a product record. If I go to product management, hover over and click on products, it takes me to my listings page where I have access to all my products within Fuse5. If I use the Show All button, which is right here, click it, it'll pull up a list of all the parts that I have saved within my Fuse5 system. If I want to look for one specific part within Fuse5, I could use the search functionality. I want to use a filter for our demonstration today, so I'm going to put in a 51515 and search by product stripped. This should take me to a list of filters, which includes our Wix 51515. I'm going to go ahead and click right on that product number. Now I'm in the complete product record. Now, before we start talking about all of the pieces of information that you can store in the product record and edit in the product record, I first want to show you where you can see a comprehensive list of everything in here with a full description. The reason for that is, as we go through the training today, we're going to take a look at the primary required and most used fields within Fuse5. If you want to access a list of all the fields to get further information on line items that we don't discuss on this video, you can access them by going to the Personal and Admin tab and clicking on Training Materials. The Fuse5 University site will immediately pop up for you. Now again, we're looking at products which are under the Product Management tab in Fuse5. So if I click on Materials first, and then I choose Product Management, you'll find a document titled Products. This document contains information about every line item in the product records. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This will allow me to open it as a PDF file, so I can open with PDF and click OK. Now you have the same document that I'm using to create this training video. As you scroll through here, you'll see every single line is described in detail. Those lines that are highlighted are the ones that I'm primarily going to focus on in our video today. I'll go ahead and close that. I'll close the university site. So let's take a look at a product record. The very first thing you see at the top there is our product number and line code. Those are both required within Fuse5. The product number is the part number that you have given the product within Fuse5. It does not have to be globally unique, but it does have to be unique within the line code. It may contain spaces, dashes, and special characters. Line code is also required. This identifier is the code representing the product line you wish to group this part within. Chances are there's already a standardized line code provided by your manufacturer. However, you may have to come up with a convention of your own for those parts that differ, varying on the vendor you buy them from. Product name is right here. Product stripped is simply the part number minus any special characters or dashes. Again, to reiterate, the line code and product number are required to be entered into Fuse5 by you, whether through an import or when creating a new part. The product strip will be automatically generated by Fuse5. None of the other information that we're going to look at is required within Fuse5. The rest of the part line items we look at are simply items that most businesses use. As you look at the rest of the information at the top here, you notice you do have the ability to enter the original equipment manufacturer number also have in Fuse5 sublines and product divisions, which can be used to further delineate the parts that you're looking for. Some manufacturers may provide sublines for their parts, others may not. You can choose to use the manufacturer's sublines, or you can create your own. Sublines and product divisions can be used to identify groups of parts within a line for pricing purposes, doing updates, reporting, etc. The line code description, along with the subline and product division descriptions, are simply a quick way for you to identify a line. For example, you may put in Robustos brakes and accessories in a description for the line code of RAY. Right? It's simply a text field that allows you to share information about that line code, subline, or product division for those users that may not be familiar with them by name. You can update these using the product line code description module, which is found under Product Management, Products, Product Line Code Description. How to use this functionality will be described in a future video. As we move through the remainder of the items in the part records, you'll notice the 10 M fields. These M fields are used for pricing. They're unrestricted fields that can be used for price plans, they can be used to pull up pricing information at the point of sale. You can reference them in price code books and many other places within Fuse5. There's no hard and fast rule for what these fields must contain. They're simply used by you to store pricing information that may have appeared in your previous system, or more importantly, if you want to generate a variety of prices within Fuse5. Maybe prices for jobbers, dealerships, walk-in customers, etc. Again, Fuse5 doesn't define them, you do as a business, but they can be used to do pricing and other lookups within Fuse5. This list price is often given to you by your manufacturers on a product price sheet, can be received by your suppliers or vendors. Some businesses actually generate their own list price and import it into Fuse5, which is not necessarily directly related to the list price provided by a supplier. This list price is not necessarily going to show up on the sales order unless you specifically set up your pricing plans in such a way that it pulls the list price from the product record. The core cost is the cost that you pay your manufacturer for cores. The core sell price is the price that you would sell cores to your customer. You'll notice there's a lot of information regarding barcodes and barcode quantities. You can easily store up to 3 barcodes within the product record itself. Each of these can be independent barcode numbers, and you can use them to identify a varying number of individual items. So in this example, you'll notice that we have a unit barcode, which is right here, which indicates one part was received or one part was scanned. Intercase barcode, if I scan that part with a barcode scanner, it's indicating that there's 12 parts in that box or case or whatever. There's information about the size and weight, some sales history information, also some other information regarding pricing that you've set up on the part. This information is automatically generated once you've set up your price plans. All of the information located within the product information section and above the location information is related to this particular part throughout your Fuse5 system. As we move down below into the location information, you'll notice that we have the ability to select from all of your locations within Fuse5. I'll switch to Fiji. I'll switch to Tahiti. I'll go back to Bora Bora. Now, some of the information below this line may be consistent across all of your locations. On the other hand, some of this information may be quite unique based on your location. For example, there's a good possibility that the quantity on hand is going to potentially be different in each of your locations. The quantity on hand is the amount that you physically have in possession. Quantity allocated, which is clickable, this is the amount that you have allocated on either pending sales orders, out on consignment, or on store transfers first. The total available is the amount that you have readily available for sale. Total available is essentially quantity on hand minus quantity allocated. Although you have 46 on hand, 3 have been allocated, therefore you really only have 43 that you should be selling, as you have those other 3 designated for other sales orders, store transfers, or on consignment. As we move down through the remainder of the part record, we have some information regarding taxes. We have a lot lot of other quantity information available to us. And notice that if you have multiple locations, you'll see how much you have on outgoing store transfers. You can see if you have additional parts that are out on consignment. You can see if you've taken any cores, defect, or warranty returns. And you can also see the number that you have on order. Keep in mind, anytime you see anything within the part record that's in bold, like the quantity on order, you can click on it and further information will be provided to you. In this case, there's 2 purchase orders that this part is on. That's why the quantity on order is 2. The part type is extremely important. Most of what you sell is probably parts or products. The part type you want to use for any part that you sell will be the type product. Directly below the part type information, we have location information of where you keep the part in your warehouse or store. You can store zone, aisle, bin, and shelf information. That's the primary location. We also have a secondary zone, aisle, shelf, and bin location. And finally, the tertiary zone, aisle, shelf, and bin location. If you store that part in more than one location, you can store that information in the product record. You'll also see that we have the current cost, which is typically going to be the cost that you're currently buying this part from your primary supplier. Directly below that is the average landed cost. You can also see the last and lowest cost at which you bought this part. Below this information, in the center of the second side of the page, you'll see that we have supersession information. In this case, this part is not superseded. It says part superseded no. Underneath it, you'll see that there is some supersession information, including a line code and superseded product number. Looks as if this part may be being prepared to be superseded in the future, but at present it's not, because again, in order to supersede it, it would need to be yes in the part superseded section. If you want to get information about how to set up the supersessions, you can click on any of these question marks. They'll pull up the help file that will thoroughly explain how to set up and how to use supersessions within Fuse5. Underneath the supersession information, we have the ability to enter a sales order part note or a purchase order part note. You can enter a note for an individual part and choose whether or not you want to display that on your sales order. There's also a field to add a comment which can display on the sales order. As we move down to the purchasing information, the first 3 fields you'll see are alternate cost 1, 2, or 3. Those fields can be used to store cost information from various vendors up to 3. If you buy the same parts from different vendors with varying current costs, you can enter those costs here. Those can be used when you're creating purchase orders for those specific vendors. Underneath alternate cost fields, you have the alternate part number. With this, you can set up a relationship with another part that essentially could replace this at the point of sale. You'll notice that you enter the line code, colon, and the part number. The benefit of this is that not only can you choose the alternate part at the point of sale if you do not have this particular part in inventory, but you can actually choose to swap them out even if you do have both parts in inventory. Related parts are set up relatively similarly. Related parts are parts that generally should be sold together. They're not replacements for each other, but should be sold together. You can set up either a required related relationship, which means if I put this part, which is 51515, on my sales order, the other related part would automatically populate the sales order. You can also set up suggested related relationships, which will not force the part on the sales order, but allow you to choose it. Under there, we've got a lot more information about when the part was sold, some sales history at the very bottom here. The most important thing in this area is the part min-max and order point. These are used for ordering purposes. When you do a purchase order, you can do stock orders using any one of these 3 ordering points, which act independently of one another. Within the product record itself, you want to establish your order point, and then when you do your purchase order, you choose which order point you're electing to do your purchase order to. Primary supplier can be set up whether you buy this part from one vendor or multiple vendors. If you want to ensure that you know who is the primary supplier that you buy this part from, you want to establish that in the primary supplier field. The biggest key with this, and you can open the help file to see it, is that you're going to use the vendor line code, which is an abbreviation and not their full name. So we move down the right side, again, some more cost information, pricing information in terms of sales. We also have the ability to set up minimum sell increments and vendor order increments. In this case, I buy 12 of these when I do purchase orders, and I'll change this to be 12 in a box. At the same time, I'm able to sell it individually or each, as it says in the selling unit order of measure type. If you sell it in increments of 1, it's not necessary to even populate this field. There's some other roundup options that are available to you, whether it's a per car quantity, a by quantity purchase increment, or minimum order increment. Some of these might be dictated by your vendors or suppliers. Some of these might be your decision as a company. Maybe I only want to buy 50 of these at minimum whenever I order. You can set that in one of these roundup options, and they're available when you do a purchase order. As we move down to the forecasting information, the only field that I'm going to spend time on here is the reorder status. The reorder status essentially in Fuse5 indicates whether this is a stocking item or not. If you do purchase orders using either order points or forecast logic, if you want this part to show up on the PO, you need to have reorder status set at yes. If it's a non-stocking item, you want to have it set at no. Now, to be clear, if I have the reorder status set at yes, and I do purchase orders to order points, but I don't have an order point, the part will not show up on the PO. If I have the reorder status set to yes, and I've sold this part before, if I do a forecast PO, it's likely this part will show up on there. The rest of this information will be filled in by the system as you do forecast purchase orders. Down at the bottom, you have the ability to import a product image. In order to import that in, you do need to go into full edit mode, which I'll demonstrate to you now. You'll notice if I want to edit one of the fields in here at present, I need to hover over it and choose the pencil to open up the edit mode. If I want to go into full edit mode, at the very top is my edit button right here. If I click edit, part record goes into full edit mode. I can scroll back down to my product image, and at this point you'll see I have the ability to go ahead and browse for and import up to 6 images in a product record. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Let's take a brief look at the other information available to you at the bottom of the product record. If you've stored equivalent parts for this product by using the equivalent parts module to import them, or if you've created them with the add equivalent part button, you'll have the ability to view the equivalent parts. This essentially tells me that I buy this exact same part from 2 other vendors, and I can see what their current cost is. If this part has been on purchase orders before, I can see a list of those using the drop-down arrow. It shows me all the purchase orders and the status of the POs. If I want to see any sales orders this part has been on, I can use the drop-down arrow and see all the sales orders. This part's been sold on 439 sales orders in Fuse5. Same with store transfers. And finally, the related docs. I can upload documents related to this particular part up to 300 megabytes at a time. So if you have a tech manual or any other information that you might want to import about this particular part, you can import it into Fuse5 and store it here. Before we finish with the part records, let's go ahead and scroll back to the top. Just want to point out a couple other quick things to you. One thing is that if I want to move from this part to another one without going back to my products listings page, I can simply type in a part number right here, click enter, get my drop down. That allows me to move quickly to another part. You'll notice that it opened it in a new tab at the top, so now I have both part 51515R and on the other tab 51515 available. From within the part record, you can also duplicate a part, delete a part. You also have the ability to use the shortcuts here. One is the create sales order, other is the create purchase order. This is not necessarily where I would go to create a sales order or purchase order, but shortcuts are available. You can choose to view the sales history or use the all sales history chart button right here. This shows you sales information and inventory information about this part in all of your locations. Much of it is editable, including the reorder status and the order points by clicking on the pencil. Close that. Finally, using the warehouse functionality, you can see the physical location of the part. Alright, that's all we're going to cover in this training module in relationship to the product records. Remember that you can go to the Fuse5 University site and pull up the training document, which will allow you to read about and explore all the other line items that are available in Fuse5 for product records. The intent of this training module is to essentially show you the required and most commonly